with authority.
It is another quarantine edition of our With Authority podcast. Larry Beal, Casey Pratt, Chris Alvarez, and our special guest is Warriors head coach Steve Kerr. Steve, we felt just like your playing days, we had to triple team you the moment we started so that you'd give up the ball or do what. I don't know if you have anybody to pass to in your house, but we felt that would be an appropriate way to start.
I am used to this, from my playing days. I'm glad you recognized that analogy. And so I'm well equipped to handle the triple team, so bring it on.
But not so much a razor is what I see. Are you going Grizzly Adams here? What is happening? How many days you were starting to look like Tom Hanks on the island? Are you talking to a volleyball named Wilson?
I have a basketball named Spalding, but same concept. Larry, you should know this. There's no rules anymore. Nothing applies. What time it is, doesn't matter what day it is, whether I have a razor or not, none of it matters. So, we just, here we are, and we have to survive.
All right. So this is kind of dealer's choice here because you've been doing a lot of shows, a lot of podcasts. Thank you for being gracious with your time. Do you want to start with serious, or do you want to start with completely absurd, just to break up the monotony? Because I know everybody's asking Last Dance and Warriors related. What would you prefer since you're the guest?
I feel like the host should always stay in his sweet spot. So let's go with the absurd, Larry.
Yeah. Nailed it. Is that a shot? Was that an insult?
What?
What? What?
No rules, Larry. No rules.
All right. Well, then fine. No, good. I'm glad you went that direction because that's where I wanted to go.
Perfect.
So let's start with this. When are you going to pay me the $2,000 you owe me?
I'm sorry, what?
What? Oh, yes. So
what's that from?
I've explained this to Raymond already, and I'm assuming that I've done it on the podcast, and I know you listen regularly, so I'm shocked that you're not aware. But before the start of the season, this is well before the start of the season, actually, I was talking with Casey about making a sizable bet because the Warriors over-under was 47 or 48 wins. And I was going to take, educated NBA analyst that I am from hanging out with you, I was going to take the under on that for about 2,000. And so we were discussing where to make this wager legally, of course. And then I wake up the next morning and I see you've blurted out to Logan Murdoch that Klay Thompson is probably going to miss most of the season. And then I'm scrambling on my phone. I'm trying to where can I get this bet? Gone. They took it off the board. Why?
I try to be honest, Larry. I try to give our fans the truth. I know the truth is elusive these days, but I try to be a beacon of honesty. So if you can't handle that, that's on you.
I can't handle the truth. I'm like Jack Nicholson. You can Venmo me still. You can Venmo me. It's okay. I'll give you the number afterwards.
Yeah,
Casey, jump.
I'll try to take it to a less absurd level. I had mentioned before we started recording, I got hit right in the chest by a water balloon as I was walking up here, so I quickly changed my shirt. But I mean, right now, how do you kind of take this situation, this global pandemic, and turn it into a positive? Because I know myself, I'm seeing way more of my kids than I would have otherwise. So I would imagine you're having the same kind of situation at home, being able to see your family a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're trying to do. We have all three of our kids at home with us, and their significant others. So we've got 8 people under our roof. And since we're empty nesters, this is really a rare opportunity for my wife and me. So we're really enjoying the company and trying to make the most of the time we have together with our family and ride this thing out. And then from a work standpoint, I think it's giving our organization a chance to kind of step back and assess things. And we haven't really had much of an opportunity to do that, over the last 5-6 years, because we've been playing deep into June and then going right into the draft and free agency. So all of a sudden we're blessed, I guess, is the word with time. Maybe not blessed, but we are given this extra time, and so we have to make the most of it. And that's what we're trying to do as an organization is try to get better, see where we can improve, really do some self-assessment, and try to prepare for next year.
Now, you can be honest. I know Raymond had said that you've done something like 40 interviews, especially because of The Last Dance. Is that maybe a little bit to get away from the family too?
Yeah. So I'm sitting in my office. This is definitely my sanctuary. So I'm pretty sure my family's happier than I am, though, to get away from me. So it works for everybody.
Steve, when we spoke, this is a long time ago at Media Day, and I chatted with you about, I think you're very funny. You talk about being honest, but I joked with you about you could be a comedian, and you talked about you like going to some stand-up in Chicago. Can you talk to the fans about your comedic ability or your kind of improv skills?
Oh, man. I'm not sure if I actually have skills. I definitely enjoy improv comedy, so I go to shows occasionally. I actually just did something with Second City a couple of days ago. They're putting on online shows with various skits, actors at home, and they got in touch with me and asked me to be a part of one. So I think it's coming out this evening.
Oh, perfect.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that, and it should be fun. But it's definitely something that I've been invited to do occasionally based on my my job description in the working world more than my comedic timing, for sure.
How is the challenge between improv in person or something like on Zoom? Because when we're talking in the podcast, we like take a break and like, okay, whose question is it next? So how is improv on a virtual reality level?
Well, it was fun. We basically had a similar setup to this. There were 4 people involved, and 2 people acting and 2 people, kind of doing the directing and the technological work, and so we kind of did some a couple of rehearsals and then some read-throughs, and the beauty of it is they can just edit it and take whatever clips they want and put it together. So I think you can find it on YouTube starting tonight. I think it's coming out tonight. But yeah, it should be fun.
That's very cool. That's so different from probably anything you've ever done.
Very different. And, I think that's part of what we're all experiencing right now is, I didn't even know what Zoom was until a few weeks ago, and now I'm on this computer every single day, and this has become the #1 way of communicating. And so we're all sort of learning a new way of life and living. So you just adapt and adjust.
So I have a question here, and I don't know if you want to try to clarify this, because I know, I don't know if you saw the tweet from LeBron today saying that some people are talking about the season being over, and he's like, there's nothing over. We want to play. He wants to play. But when you were at USF, zooming into them, you said it felt like the Warriors season was over. And I think there was a lot of conjecture about what that actually meant, and whether it was just your inner feeling, or that you think that the league would come back once the playoffs, we just go straight into the playoffs, or so what exactly were you trying to say there, just to remove any confusion, if there is any?
Well, first of all, I made the classic mistake of thinking I'm just doing an interview or a Zoom with some USF students and faculty, and with Rick Welts and Jennifer Azzi, we're just doing something educational and informative for the USF community, and not thinking that this was going to become a story. And I should know better than that, especially these days. There's no sports content out there. And so, somebody's listening, a media member's listening, and all of a sudden it becomes a story. My response was really to the question that Jennifer asked in terms of what are we doing to keep our players motivated and prepared. And I was just being honest. When you've been off for 7 weeks and you have the worst record in the NBA, and there are really very few glimpses of anything starting up soon around the NBA, it's kind of hard to look at it any other way. Now, we're well aware that we may be asked to play, and if we are, we'll be ready to go, and our guys will be given several weeks, I'm sure, to practice, and we'll get back together on the floor and prepare. But the reality is where we are, nobody knows anything, and the league is desperately trying to come up with different possibilities for the season reopening, and I know we all want to see that. But for us and our team, given that we've already been eliminated from the playoffs, it's just kind of the reality of where we are.
Okay. Now, I know that you had alluded to a little bit earlier how things have changed, communicating with the team via Zoom and all of that. But how much is this kind of pumping of the brakes giving you guys the extra time, the extra advantage of really internally looking at everything you guys are doing? I know this is usually not a luxury for your team, especially with the deep final runs you've had the last 5 or so years.
Yeah, so that's really been, one of the things we're really trying to take advantage of is that extra time to assess what we're doing and how we're doing it, and where can we get better. And right now we're realizing how busy we are and how busy we've been in the past, going directly from playoffs to draft to free agency, and then you kind of just want to get away for a few weeks, then you start it back up again. So this is a totally different mindset for our organization. And Bob and I talk a lot, almost every day. And he's working with his staff. I'm working with my own staff, and we're really, really hashing out, what we can do better, where we can improve. It's a chance to assess, and that's what we're trying to do.
Coach, obviously this is a global pandemic and there's a lot of negatives, but there's also some positives that come out of it. And people like yourself or Steph, just to name a few, use your platform to educate or even provide, Steph with his daughter, Riley, and homeschooling. So what have you thought about specifically what Steph has done, both with Dr. Fauci and some of the behind the scenes fun videos with Aisha and his family?
Yeah, I think Steph has been amazing. One of the things I really admire about him is that he understands the power that he holds with his platform, and just with how many people are enamored with him and his life, and so he uses that power for good. He uses that platform and his social media platform to raise money, to raise awareness, to educate. To keep people entertained, and we're really lucky to have Steph as one of the real faces of our franchise, and we're very proud of the work he's done during this quarantine.
I know you've been really busy because now you got your own podcast with Pete Carroll. How did that come about, and how much are you enjoying it? I'm enjoying listening, just from the standpoint of two guys who have to, you're taking on all these teams, and the sports are obviously very different, but some of the core principles are the same in terms of what you're trying to accomplish with your guys.
Yeah, so Pete and I have been friends for, I guess, 6 years or so. I first went up there to Seattle to visit him before I started coaching the Warriors in 2014. I'd already been named coach, but I hadn't had my first training camp yet. So I was just trying to visit various coaches and learn and try to prepare for my own job. And Pete and I really hit it off. So we've remained friendly ever since. And we were talking a few weeks ago and trying to think about something we could do to help. And this is kind of where we ended up was let's do a podcast, kind of something different, a coaching podcast. Talking about our jobs and, the challenges we face and how they relate to the challenges that any coach faces at every level. And then using that as a way to raise money for COVID relief. And so we partnered with Spotify and The Ringer, and we're trying to do a podcast every week. And Spotify has made $100,000 donations to both the Warriors Foundation and the Seahawks Foundation, and all that money is going to various relief funds in both communities. So it's been fun, and I'm enjoying it, and it's a good way for us to try to contribute.
Who came up with the name Flying Coach? Because
That was
neither one of you has flown coach in decades. Come on.
Larry, I'm a Southwest guy, just so you know. But I did not come up with a name. Craig Horlbeck, our producer, who does a great job, he came up with the name. It's outstanding, and Pete and I are just trying to figure out what the hell we're doing. But it's been a lot of fun.
So when you get on the plane, because you probably do the shuttle because you're going down to San Diego a lot. Are you one of those guys that goes straight to the back because you're trying to, you're Steve Kerr, you don't want all the, the hangers on, and or do you go right straight to the first or second row? What kind of a guy are you?
I go third or fourth row. I don't want to be, first row is tough, bulkhead, all that.
Yeah.
But I want to be near the front of the plane to get off quickly. And I'm not one of those people who, when they say, would the A's please line up, I'm not jumping up to get in line. I wait till the plane starts to board, and then, I kind of slide in wherever my number says and just try to, lay low. Third row window, kind of my style.
So you do the 8-time champion strut to the
Yes.
A section. Is that's kind of a swagger where you kind of
Yeah.
slide into your slot right there?
Yeah, and sometimes I ask the question, do you know who I am? I like to throw that out there sometimes.
Larry tries that all the time. It doesn't work though.
The answer is no.
If you keep growing that beard any longer, they're going to say, "Aren't you Ted Kaczynski? Aren't you? Should you be? Where are you?"
Coach, one of the things I'm amazed by, and I hear athletes that win championships, it's all about winning the ring. But a lot of times you guys either put them away or you wear them on very special occasions. So you go and you play your whole career, you coach your whole career, and you want to win a ring, but then you guys don't really use them.
True.
Why is that?
Well, first of all, they're enormous and gaudy. So it's almost impossible to wear them, I think, in a social gathering. So it's more something that you have that you show people, but it's also strange because like I have mine in a safe deposit box because they're worth a lot.
Sure.
And I don't want to just have them hanging around. So I think the ones that I have from my playing days have been in a safe deposit box for years, and I haven't even taken a look at them. So it's weird. It's really much more about the memories and than it is the actual rings. But the rings are pretty cool to have.
I know we talked to Dennis Eckersley right before all this hit, and he told us that he keeps his rings in a safe deposit box, but he also said he's built what he calls a gloating room where he has all of his pictures and things, and he can just sit up there and just kick back and go, look at what I did. Do you have anything like that?
The shrine.
Yes.
I have a few mementos in my office. I have the Spalding basketball that I have befriended here during the pandemic, but I got a few photos from my Bulls and Spurs days, and a few items that are kind of cool, but they're kind of tucked away in this office, and it's one of those things where you, on the one hand, you kind of like the memories. On the other hand, you don't also want to completely live in the past. So try to find the right balance of having a few things here and there.
How has the Last Dance, though, in a way, kind of forced you to live in the past? I know that we all know you, and in the Bay Area know you for your successful post-playing career. There's a lot of young kids that are Warriors fans that probably weren't even alive when you played for the Bulls. So how kind of fun is it to be forced to dive back in to your playing days and see the exposure of people that are seeing you in that way now?
It's there's a kind of a combination of feelings of nostalgia. Yeah, I haven't seen any of this footage before, and it's been 22 years. So, I'm watching it just like you guys are. I haven't watched anything in advance, and I'm watching on Sunday nights with my family. And so when I see the footage, it's brand new for me, but it's great reminders of that season and that run with the Bulls. And then there's a little bit of a feeling of self-consciousness too, because especially right now, the whole country's watching this. The sports fans in our country are watching, and you just when you watch your younger self, I don't know. Most people probably feel a little self-conscious, and so that's how I feel. I'm a little nervous about upcoming episodes, how much they're going to show, and what happens. But it's more than anything, it's nostalgic, and it's fun to see the old days. And my kids are really enjoying it because they were really young when all that happened.
Yeah, I had a little cameo in episode 1 from 1995.
I saw it.
And I was not watching. I was DVRing the show, and then I started getting all these text messages from people going, "Oh," and I thought, "Oh no, what did they pick? What did they?"
Harry actually texted us and said, "Don't you know who I am?"
Yeah, I was going to my flight on Southwest, and I thought, "Watch this clip right here." 1995 Hornets Bulls highlight. Jordan at 48.
A15 right here, pal.
Yeah, it's good. It's my best 15 seconds. So, all right, there's so many different directions to go here. I know how much time do you spend daily or weekly watching college players or high school players getting ready for the eventual NBA draft?
I try to watch draft guys every day, at least a game or two, and I'm just taking the cues of our front office. And so, I've got a ton of games on my computer, and I'll get, the info from our front office and scouts saying, "Hey, take a look at this guy. What do you think?" And, so that's been fun because I've never done this before. Because we've been in the finals up until just a couple of weeks before the draft. I've really never taken part in the draft. I've just been an observer, and so this is different for me, and it's fun to really assess these guys and have a better feel, especially since we're going to have a high pick. And it's still Bob's selection, as it should be. He's done a great job, he and his staff, over the years, and he will take my assessment into account. But I don't believe a coach should have personnel decision-making power. I think it's too difficult to do both jobs, and we've had that agreement from day one that Bob and his staff would have personnel power, and I would coach the team, and that's really how it should be.
So can I help? Because should I text you or should I text Bob Myers? Because I want to help. I really,
yeah.
And because we used to work together briefly, although I checked your Wikipedia page, which is ginormous with all of your accomplishments, and your stint as Yahoo Sports basketball analyst did not make it into your Wikipedia. I was shocked. I'm going to re-edit that page to include, because actually obviously we joke around a lot, but you are a tremendous writer. You're better actually than some of the NBA columnists Yahoo paid to write NBA basketball stories. So multi-talented, but just take Obi Toppin let me help. I want to help the organization.
You asked just a little while ago. First of all, thank you for the nice compliment. Appreciate that. But you asked a little while ago, how can I help and who should I call? So by all means, call Bob.
Well, I'm driving the Obi Toppin bandwagon, right? And 6'9", 225, dunks on everybody, can shoot threes, a modern NBA player. It's a no-brainer. So all right, I'll have to get a hold of Bob. I actually still have his number. He doesn't change his number like some people do. But that's
wow, low blow.
Yeah.
It's probably a wise move by you, actually.
Yeah.
I give you credit for that. I want to get into your headspace a little bit based on the season that hopefully continues. But, there's nothing harder in professional sports to win a championship, win a second championship in a row. The run you guys went on had to have been such a mental grind and a physical grind. But was that in a way harder or easier than the season you had this year? The losing has to take its toll too. So which is more difficult as a head coach mentally?
Losing is definitely harder than winning. I mean, winning presents its challenges, and a lot of our internal drama has been discussed and all that stuff. But that's the job. That's what you want. You want to win, and you want to be able to help a team navigate all the bumps in the road, because those are going to come no matter how good you are, no matter how your team is built. There's just plenty of adversity. That's the coach's job. This year's job was different. It was much more related to player development, and so our staff approached it that way. And in many ways, it was satisfying, and it was fun to see the young guys grow and see them develop and see their careers start to blossom. But there's no getting around the fact that losing stinks, and it just stinks to walk off the floor night after night on the wrong end of the score. It's no fun. So I'll take the other way any day.
Coach, who do you talk to in the Bay Area? I know there's always the Bay Area Unite, and on Twitter, when people start doing well, you guys all rally around each other. But are you close with the coaches up here? And if so, who do you talk to a lot? Do you talk to Kyle? Have you talked to Gabe a lot yet? Do you have time for any of those conversations yet?
I have. I've connected via text with Gabe, with John Lynch. I've actually known John for quite a while, because he has spent a lot of time in San Diego, where near where we are in our family home in the off season. And we've actually made plans. Bob and I have made plans to visit Kyle and John in training camp and vice versa. And for whatever reason, every time we've made these plans, they've fallen through. So we haven't made the connection yet in terms of going to practice and visiting each other. So it's, there hasn't been a ton of that. I've visited with Bruce Bochy several times, which I've really enjoyed. It's just, I think I'm a big baseball fan. And so I watch the Giants, I watch the A's. I'm missing baseball right now. I'm missing having it on in the background. And it's, I think like everybody, I'm just kind of missing sports in general.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know how people who are not into sports, and there's a lot. I'm like, what have you guys done for the past 20, 30 years? It's terrible. This is just, I find it very challenging. It's very boring without. To go back to Casey's point, you were talking about the difficulty during the season. I did a story with Brandon Payne, who is Steph's personal trainer, shot doctor kind of guy. He was working with me on my shot.
Hopeless.
Oh, That was some brutal video, actually.
I
When a
saw
guy
it.
tells you, do that like a golf swing, do this, do that, do this. Don't forget to breathe. Bend your knees. And like, I could barely shoot the ball. I was just all in my head. And anyway, Brandon's excellent. A few days before Steph got hurt, I was talking to Brandon and I was saying, I'm worried about him getting hurt. Can you tell him to just ease off the throttle a little bit? The kamikaze drive into the lane, we don't need that right now. And he said, yeah, sure. We've had the conversation about 1,000 times. That is the way he is wired. And he's not capable of easing back when, he sees a moment available to him. Do you have those conversations with him? And maybe you could discuss his competitive drive and what has turned him into a guy who 7th pick in the draft, but there were questions. And I know he posts occasionally all the disses that too slow, not athletic, all this stuff. The makeup of Steph and what makes him who he is.
Well, he's unbelievably competitive, and his work ethic is unparalleled, really. When you watch him before and after practice, when you see his preparation and his routine every day, he's really a model for all of our younger players. Just the way he handles all of his business from the time he sets foot in the facility till the time he leaves. There's a routine and a pattern that is I think pretty common among great players. They figure that out at an early age, and then they stay with that, and that work ethic carries them through. And so Steph just works so hard, and a lot of that is his competitive desire, just his fire, his desire to win. As far as him, driving to the hole, that's just such a big part of basketball and of his game. He's one of our shot creators. He's one of the guys who can break the defense down and get the defense to react, and then he kicks the ball out, and then that's what gets the ball moving. And so we can't live without that, and it's part of his game. And he's an unbelievable finisher in the lane. It's one of the things he's improved upon the most, as his career has gone on. So the injury this year to me was just a fluke when Aaron Baines landed on him, and he stayed healthy through most of his career, going in there amongst the tall trees. So I don't think we'll ask him to change.
You've been incredibly close to two of the greatest players that have ever played basketball, so it's probably impossible to distill, but what is it about those guys, Curry, Jordan, that just makes them so absolutely elite?
Well, I think it's the combination of the work ethic and the talent. I think Steph has world-class hand-eye coordination, maybe the best hand-eye coordination of anybody I've ever seen. I think Klay Thompson is right there with him. Michael Jordan was the most gifted athlete in the NBA, I think, when he was playing, from just a size and speed standpoint. There were other guys who were, maybe close, if not even with him, but nobody had the combination of that kind of athleticism and work ethic. And that's where, Steph and Michael are the most similar. You get that combination, the work ethic and the skill and the natural talent, and it just snowballs. Working and believing, and the confidence growing. There's a level of arrogance that I think binds those two, even though they're totally different human beings. I think Michael and Steph are the two most confident players I've ever been around. And it's incredible, really, to watch that depth of confidence. And especially in a playoff game, Steph a few years ago at a playoff game, he was 0 for 10 from 3 in Portland, and he made his 11th, and he shimmied after the shot. I gave him crap afterwards. I'm like, you're 1 for 11. You can't shimmy, but nobody does that, but Steph did, and Michael did, and there's this deep level of confidence that comes with that amazing package of gifts that each one has.
Coach, Michael had said, recently it's been said, you can't say my name without saying Scottie Pippen. Same almost, I don't know if it can be said, but Steph, you got to have there's a Batman and a Robin. Clay is Steph's Robin, if you will. So can you draw comparisons between Scottie and Clay?
It's never struck me before that those two would be lumped together. I think Clay is a unique talent, in and of himself. I mean, he's just our Energizer Bunny. He's a guy who just never stops competing. He's guarding the toughest guy defensively. Has the ability to switch onto a big guy and guard the post. And then at the other end, he's running around screens all day and never gets tired. And so the combination of Steph and Clay, I think Mark Jackson said it years ago, and he was right. It's the best shooting backcourt of all time. But it's just the way they complement one another that is so incredible. And I guess that's the analogy you're making with Scottie and Michael, is the complementary nature of what each one does for the other is really fun to watch. And they really love playing together, and they respect each other so much. And it's just amazing to watch them compete every day.
Since we're talking about players, I'm wondering the season before, how many times were you staring at the ceiling late at night, sensing that KD was kind of slipping away and thinking, what can I do to salvage the situation?
Well, I think, I think you have to put it into context. The fifth year of this run was very similar to, the season the Bulls had, the Last Dance. That was the sixth championship for the Bulls with Michael and Scottie and Phil. You think about Kobe and Shaq together in LA. They won 3 straight. My point is that when you put these teams together in the NBA and teams that string championships together, it's so exhausting, and it's like burning the candle at both ends after a few years. And so I guess what I'm saying is that our situation was not unique, with the drama that we had trying to keep everything together. The same thing has happened over and over again in NBA history. And so I knew, and I lived through it as a player with Chicago, so I knew just the physical and mental, emotional exhaustion was settling in. I could feel it the previous season even. And so I knew it would be difficult. So I don't know that I laid awake at night, but it was the main focus of our coaching endeavors that season was, how can we keep things fresh? How can we keep these guys locked in on the goal? Because we all knew we were sort of near the end of the run as a group.
Now we'll take it off basketball a little bit for a second here. I know that we're all cooped up in our own homes right now, and everyone's dealing with it differently. But what are some of the things that the Kerr family is doing to pass the time? Are their favorite shows? Are their favorite board games? Are their favorite competitions? What are you guys doing to pass time right now, other than podcasts?
Speaking of which, are you in Jerry Seinfeld's living room right now?
Yes, I am. This is a wonderful Zoom background. I figured I would go with Seinfeld's living room today.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It only took me like 40 minutes to figure that out. So.
It's subtle. That's why it works. It's a very subtle thing, but it's fun.
So yeah, we are, as I mentioned, we got 8 people under the roof and a dog. So we're keeping each other company. We're cooking a lot, cooking almost every night, and sharing the cooking responsibilities. And then what I've found is that the dinners are coming later and later. Like time has no context anymore. And so all of a sudden we're eating dinner at like 9. It's like, what, you know, it's like we're in Italy or something, you know, it's bizarre. And so we've taken on this whole different lifestyle, and we're enjoying the dinners for longer. You know, we're kind of lounging at the table, and it's pretty interesting because we're not in a rush for anything, because there's nowhere we can be and nothing we can really do. So yeah, we're watching movies and, you know, doing jigsaw puzzles during the day and stuff that everybody's doing. But I think the biggest thing for me is just noticing that you know, time has sort of taken on a totally different meaning.
You surfing at all? Because you know they're closing the beaches this weekend.
Yeah, no, I haven't been down to the beach at all. The beach here in San Diego has been closed for most of the time since I've been down here. I go for walks. We're inland a few miles, and there's a lot of space around our house where we can take walks without you know, running into a ton of people. So I'm taking a lot of walks every day, getting outside.
Coach, you're allowing this time to grow out the beard, and I've talked to almost every guest. Some of them are cared about their haircuts or their appearance, and some are just like, I'm going to let it go. Have you tried to cut your hair? Because I've tried YouTube videos, and Casey's got his wife cutting his hair, so we're all trying different things over here.
Yeah, no, I have not had the haircut yet. So there's no excuse for the beard, because you can still buy razors, but I'm letting the hair go. So we'll see where it is a couple months from now.
Is this like a hockey playoff beard, like a quarantine beard? You're just going to go until
Yes.
the end of the playoff? You're just going to go till the end?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, playoff beard, quarantine beard.
Little ZZ Top. By the time this thing is done, you're gonna.
My son has the Fu Manchu with the soul patch going. It's just disgusting. You know, everybody's just doing whatever they want to do right now.
All right, I want to wrap it up with something fun here. I mentioned the Wikipedia page, and I'm just going to go down a list of things. You're the NBA career three-point shooting leader at 45%, 5-time NBA champion as a player, 3-time champion as a coach. We talked about your excellent writing skills at Yahoo. You're a surfer, a TV analyst, now a podcaster. Well-read, you're a Renaissance man. What are you really terrible at? Is there something you're just awful? I want to know, just for humanity's sake, to make us feel better about ourselves.
First of all, my whole family would burst out laughing at you calling me a Renaissance man, but thank you. If I can perpetuate that myth, I will. I am absolutely horrible around the house at fixing stuff. Like, I can't figure out the remote control to save my life. You know, we have one of those systems where there's like a couple different remotes, you know, because you gotta do this and that, and I can't even figure out how to turn the TV on. So if anything around the house breaks down, that my wife takes care of that. I have no idea.
Yeah, I can relate. I'm really bad.
Are you?
Oh, it's brutal. And I'm still just dumb enough to go, you know what? I think I can do that. And then you're halfway in. And my daughter's boyfriend, his name is Carl, and Carl is an IT computer genius and can fix anything, and mechanical engineering, and this goes into and so anytime anything goes wrong, we go, where's Carl? He's like our MVP. Carl's our MVP. We cannot live without him.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of having a full house around here. We got lots of kids who know what the hell they're doing with the technology. So that's what I do too. I just hand the computer or the remote control to one of my kids, and they figure it out.
All right, I'll send Carl down to San Diego if you have something none of the kids can handle. He's fantastic. He's unbelievable. I mean, just fantastic. So are you, by the way. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. I wish we could do this in person at some point once all this is over, and kind of get back to whatever the new normal is. But grow that beard. Want to see it in a few more weeks. Maybe we can do another one of these, and just stay safe and healthy, and hope to see you soon.
You guys too. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank
Steve
you.
Kerr.
With authority.